Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi vows a fierce crackdown after the Pahalgam terror attack, in which 26 civilians were killed. Says New Delhi will hunt down every terrorist and their backer as tensions with Pakistan hit a new high. Reports say Pakistan has issued a maritime alert for a surface-to-surface missile test off its Karachi coast between the 24th and 25th of April. The announcement stirs regional tensions, with India keeping a close watch. NATO scrambles Swedish fighter jets over the Baltic Sea as a Russian spy plane nears Polish airspace. The jets, stationed in Poland, identified the aircraft as a Russian IL-20 and escorted it safely away. The United Kingdom lifts asset freezes on Syria's defense, interior and intelligence ministries. It's a major reversal as Western powers accommodate to post-Assad Syria. And President Emmanuel Macron acknowledges France's painful colonial legacy in Madagascar. The Premier seeks forgiveness and promises to return cultural artifacts looted during colonial rule. Hello and welcome. Our top focus is on a major breakthrough in the DRC conflict. The DRC government and M23 rebels have announced a halt to fighting that has killed over 7,000 people this year. The government of the DRC and the M23 rebel group have issued a landmark joint statement declaring a ceasefire in the eastern region while they pursue a permanent truce. The M23 has taken control of strategic mineral-rich areas, with neighboring Rwanda accused of supporting the rebels. The surprise announcement came after mediation talks led by Qatar. The Gulf state is known for mediating several international conflicts. Qatar last month facilitated a rare meeting between the Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi and the Rwandan President Paul Kagame. The meeting opened the door to direct talks between the DRC and the M23. Despite Congo's long-standing position of refusing negotiations with the group, the M23 and the DRC government have been engaged in direct talks in Doha. The statement called the talks frank and constructive. But as per reports, there were disagreements. Discussions were stalled over technical issues, and tensions flared over potential confidence-building measures, such as the release of prisoners linked to Rwanda and M23. Still, Qatar managed to pressure both sides into issuing a joint statement to keep working toward peace. The agreement sparks hope that this latest round of violence in a decades-long conflict tied to the 1994 Rwanda genocide might finally ease. The DRC accuses Rwanda of supporting the Tutsi-led M23 group, while Rwanda claims its forces are acting in self-defense against Congolese troops and Hutu militia linked to the Congolese. Now, the UN and several Western governments have backed Congo's allegations, citing evidence of Rwandan troop support to M23. But the conflict isn't just about politics. It's also about minerals. The M23 controls key zones rich in rare earth minerals, and Congo accuses Rwanda of using the rebels to plunder these minerals for global markets. Rebels have seized strategic towns, including Goma, Bukavu, and other mining hubs. Over 6 ceasefires have collapsed since 2021. While both sides now claim to be working toward a permanent truce, UN officials report fresh clashes in Walikale, which is a strategic mining region. The M23 recently withdrew from the area, calling it a goodwill gesture before peace talks. So, will the landmark agreement between the DRC and the M23 hold this time? Or will the fragile peace remain under threat? Now, for more on this, we have with us Dr. Eric Ndushabandi, Professor of Political Science and International Relations at the University of Rwanda and Associate Researcher at the Oclovian in Belgium. He is joining us live from Kigali in Rwanda. Thank you for being with us, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me.
What are the key terms of the agreement between the DRC government and the M23 rebels? And how likely is it that both sides will adhere to the ceasefire in the long term?
Thank you very much. When you read this agreement, you can find that this is a very historic and decisive moment when we're talking about a conflict for many decades, as you said. This is linked to colonial legacy with separation of borders, where we left some Kinyarwanda speakers from one side in the DRC, from Zaire, and for other side in Rwanda. These have been a long-run conflict where discrimination was linked with the bad governance in this Eastern Congo for long. So when you look at the terms of the agreement, you can see that there were different way or understanding of this conflict and the way this can be resolved. When you see this from the last few years, I have said M23, a rebel group which is focusing on defending rights of those Kinyarwanda speakers, Tutsis, and the other Congolese, by the way, claiming for a radical change, a revolution, a systematic change. I think we can see that they have been claiming for resolving this conflict through dialogue and peaceful means. But the government of DRC was in the side of military means to resolve this. And this agreement is coming to bring together, the mutual understanding and share the commitment to go for peaceful solutions. And for these peaceful solutions, now we are seeing Qatar coming in, a new actor, by the way, compared to these traditional actors we used to see in this Great Lakes region, colonial masters, Belgium, France, or Washington, and other actors who have been very influential in the region. So Qatar is emerging a new actor in this way, and besides the linkage we know between Qatar and the US. So I think this peace talk couldn't be facilitated by anyone else who could be very neutral as Qatar in this business. But I know Qatar had very deep ties and relationship between Rwanda and Congo. But having Qatar in this talk as a facilitator is a new element. So what we have in this agreement, we can see a joint or committed orientation to dialogue and peaceful solution, which will go through a process of putting in place the truce and towards the ceasefire. But beyond this, you can see in the agreement that they are going deeper, engaging all communities and going to address root causes. When you touch at root causes, it means you go for a nation-building process. Peace is not elite around the papers, but peace is about those people who lost this peace for decades. So engaging in root causes, it means addressing the constraint linked to governance and discrimination, corruption, which have been very determinant or factors behind this conflict. So engaging in this and engaging communities in the process, it includes media, religious leaders. This we can read in the agreement, and I think the process is long than just signing an agreement and going for sharing position. It is committing to go deeper to address root causes. These have been, by the way, the demand of IFC M23, and I'm hoping that this will be. So the second question around how I can see the future. You know, this agreement, it is not the first one the DRC signed around this problem. We know M23 is coming from an agreement signed in 2009. So this requires a strong leadership and coherence between actors around the leadership in Congo. The coherence here will be the legitimacy of Tshisekedi and the power to go in parliament, judicial system to negotiate all conditionalities.
Yes, Doctor.
IFC M23 is putting in place here. And then the regional dynamics and international support.
Dr. Ndushabandi.
Yes.
Yes. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for being with us on First Post Africa.
I thank you very much.
Shifting focus to a regional powerhouse now, South Africa hosted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today. Zelensky's visit to South Africa is his first Africa trip in his presidency, but it turned out to be a brief one. Zelensky is cutting short his trip amid fresh Russian strikes back home. Russian missiles have pounded Kiev, causing several casualties. But before flying back, Zelensky has met with President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is the current chair of the G20 presidency. He briefed him on the current situation and rallied global diplomatic support.
Due to the Russian attack, I have decided to shorten the program of my visit to your beautiful country. But I leave our Minister of Foreign Affairs to show our respect and to conduct all the meetings that we have planned and which are very important on the level of our minister, with the regional leaders and also with the students of your country. We are grateful to you for your support for Ukraine.
But even this short window holds a strategic punch. Except for a brief stop in 2023, Zelensky has never visited the continent. Zelensky's visit comes at a time which is crucial. Russia has been rapidly increasing its footprint in Africa. It has been partnering with African countries, signing defense deals and energy deals. And some experts believe Putin wants to be Africa's hero. It's believed that Zelensky is trying to counter Putin's outreach. When Russia invaded Ukraine 3 years ago, South Africa had refused to condemn the operation. Many Africans abstained from UN resolutions denouncing Russia's military campaign. That's when Ukraine pivoted toward an Africa strategy. So Zelensky's visit to South Africa is not just a handshake tour. It's an effort to flip Africa's diplomatic balance. For Zelensky, his country has not just fought on the battlefield, but also on a global stage, trying to secure support from international players who are fully not on its side. Now, this brings us to another angle of the story. The US, which had backed Kiev, is not the same anymore. Now, under Donald Trump's leadership, bilateral ties between the two sides have suffered massive blows. Trump has suspended military aid to Ukraine. That has severely hampered its supply of weapons amidst a war. As Ramaphosa hosted Zelensky, he also held a phone call with US President Donald Trump, and the two talked about the war in Ukraine. Ramaphosa also says that both agreed to meet soon to address the various matters regarding US-South Africa relations, which have nosedived over South Africa's land reforms in recent months.
I had an opportunity to speak to President Trump yesterday, or this morning rather, to discuss the peace process in Ukraine. We both agreed that the war should be brought to an end as soon as possible to prevent further death and destruction.
For Ukraine, South Africa's support is crucial. Pretoria is the loudest voice in the continent. It is the first African nation to hold G20 presidency this year. It's also heavyweight in the BRICS group that consists of Brazil, Russia, India and China. By appeasing Ramaphosa, Zelensky is hoping to leverage an access to Russia that South Africa has through BRICS. Experts believe Ukraine is trying to make use of South Africa's friendly relations with Russia. That's the role Zelensky is expecting from Pretoria, to take Ukraine's matters to Putin and to help it reach a peace deal. In 2023, Ramaphosa led a peace mission. He visited both Russia and Ukraine to de-escalate tensions. However, that didn't lead to any breakthrough. Ukraine did appreciate Ramaphosa's peace efforts, but it wants more than that. Ukraine has pledged to also increase its embassies in Africa. Zelensky has been keen on visiting Africa for a long time, but there were no formal invitations. But as he makes his first visit, Putin will be watching it closely. It will be a test of how far Ukraine can push into a Russian-friendly nation, and we will continue our coverage as this story unfolds. And now shifting focus to Kenya, where police have recovered bodies from a church in a case echoing the horrors of a doomsday cult that shocked the nation 2 years ago. Kenyan police have recovered 2 bodies and rescued 57 people from the premises of St. Joseph Missions of Africa Church in the Migori County. As per reports, 1 body was found lying on the floor of a prayer room, dressed in a white robe and wrapped in a grey sheet. The 57 survivors appeared weak and frail and were taken to a nearby hospital, but refused medical treatment. Instead, they began singing religious songs, claiming the Lord will heal them.
These officers requested him to be taken to the hospital, but he did not accept. He refused. He said that he has strong faith, he will be okay, his Lord will heal him. But from that day up to yesterday, he was well, walking. So yesterday in the morning, he called me and told me, "My child, we are here with you. I'm the one who has been here with you. Protect my body from the outsiders. Don't let my brothers come and take out my body outside this compound."
Authorities say the cause of death remains unknown and investigations are ongoing. But the incident strongly recalls the infamous doomsday cult case in the Shakahola. In 2023, over 400 bodies, nearly half of them children, were exhumed from Shakahola Forest in eastern Kenya. The mass deaths were linked to Paul Mackenzie, the leader of the Good News International Church. He is accused of ordering his followers to starve themselves and their children to death to meet Jesus before the world ended. Mackenzie and his associates face multiple charges, including murder, manslaughter, torture, and terrorism. But he has denied all charges. The case is still in court. Kenya is a highly religious country. The majority of its population identify as Christian, but many of Africa's evangelical churches operate independently, with little to no oversight from the trustee boards or congregations. Pastors in these settings often hold unquestioned power. They claim spiritual gifts like miracles and prophecies. This lack of accountability has contributed to a rise in cult-related incidents. In another case, the televangelist Ezekiel Adzero was arrested in April of 2023 in connection with alleged mass killings linked to his mega church. He was later released on bail, and investigations are still underway. So as authorities continue the probe, the shadow of the Shakahola doomsday starvation cult still haunts Kenya. Questions remain about how many more unregulated religious groups may be operating in the dark and how soon before tragedy strikes again. And on to the final story of the day. What we are about to tell you will look like it was an online hack, but in reality, it was just a horribly misplaced tap. On Tuesday night, Nigeria's Interior Ministry, yes, the one that charged with keeping law and order, found itself at the center of a social media storm. Its verified account on X randomly reposted a nude photo of an adult film star. Her name is Lena Hensonu. No caption, no explanation, just a full-blown explicit post sitting proudly on a government handle. And it stayed there. Not just for a few minutes, but for 15 hours. Users were first confused, then amused, and finally outraged. By the time it was taken down on Wednesday morning, the damage was done, and the internet had taken notice. Netizens had turned it into a national joke. One user went on to say that Nigeria has added a new department. The post read, Ministry of Pornography Watches. The Ministry of Interior is no small arm of government. It oversees internal security, civil registration, border management, and more, which is why many were stunned as the blunder occurred. Now, the general online narrative remains comedic, but some opinions have taken a serious turn. This might not have been the first time an official handle has slipped up, but it might be the first time a government ministry left a pornographic post up for over half a day. There's still no official word from the ministry, though. The post was silently deleted, and their feed returned like nothing had happened. But netizens aren't buying this silence. Some think it's a misclick by a staff member. Others believe the admin of the page forgot to switch accounts. While the post is now gone, the screenshots remain. As for the one who committed this digital faux pas, they are probably writing a detailed resignation letter right now. And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.